Hi, I'm Tom Connell, Artistic Director for Trevor Sorbie, and I'm here with Hairdressing Live today and lovely model Emma, and we're going to be demonstrating a razor cut. So people often get a little bit scared and a bit apprehensive about razor cutting, and quite rightly, because obviously you've got quite a kind of serious tool and a little bit too much pressure. It can kind of remove too much hair too quickly. But when it's used right and when you've got the confidence and when you kind of start getting a little bit more feeling, a bit more instinct with it, you can really create some nice soft shapes that grow out so well for a model or for your clients in the salon, and actually do quite technical haircuts with them. What I wanted to do today was something a little bit more creative and do quite kind of a big change. I wanted you guys to see something from start to finish. So I didn't want to do anything that, I didn't want to prep 80% of the haircut and you're just seeing the last 20%. I want you to see exactly from pretty much a one length, quite kind of plain style, totally changed into what we're going to end up with today. So where did the kind of idea for this haircut come from? It came from me being out shopping, looking for a present for my wife one day. And I was in a clothes shop and I was looking around, and this shop assistant was kind of following me around the store. And when we got chatting, it turns out that I kept looking at her and I was thinking, wow, she's got such a cool haircut. And started asking her about where she gets her haircut, and it transpired that she cuts it herself in her bathroom mirror. And anytime there's a little bit of hair that she doesn't like, she snips a bit off and she grabs another bit a few weeks later and snips the rest off. And it had such a softness to the haircut that I thought, wow, is that something that, it didn't look like a hairdresser had cut it, it didn't look too contrived, it didn't look too technique heavy. So what I've been trying to do is develop something that I can recreate that and make a real soft, cool haircut that doesn't look too heavy and too technique based. So what we're going to do with Emma's hair, first of all, you can see she's got pretty much one length hair coming to middle of her back, coming around right onto the front. And when I'm doing a haircut like this, I'm always looking at, always trying to think of something like creating a character. So you look at Emma's face and she's got a really nice face. She's got that kind of really porcelain skin tone, a little kind of doll face, nice little freckles, dark eyebrows, but you can't see any of it because it's just completely covered with this one length kind of heavy hair. So when I'm looking at that, and when we was kind of talking about which models to use for this, I thought she'd be perfect because a haircut should always be enhancing something, I believe, and using what she's got, but making it better and letting people see her great features, her bone structure, her cheekbones, her eye sockets a little bit more. And if you do that and apply a haircut in the right way, it can be quite a powerful thing, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, and what you'll notice when I'm doing this haircut is that I'm not being too technique heavy. I'm not taking my sections really neat. I'm not making everything too balanced and too clean. And the reason that I'm not making everything too balanced or too clean is because I want to recreate that look of that she's cut her own hair. I want to recreate the look that the girl that I saw in the shop that had cut her own hair, I want to recreate that. And I think if I'm going in and taking really clean sections and making everything really balanced and really hairdressery, I'm going to start to make it look like a hairdresser's cut it. And I don't want it to. So there's only a couple of rules with this haircut that I've found that work. And if you stick to them and go with it and tweak it for each person, you get a really nice balance to the cut. So I'm just going to spin you to the profile. So what essentially I'm doing is creating two very, very long undercuts on Emma's hair. So I'm going to take a section for about 1.5 inches to the hairline. Now this would vary depending on how thick or thin or wiry or curly or whatever her hair was. And I'm just going to take a curved section round into the nape of the neck. Again, I'm really not trying to be too neat with it. I'm just doing it in one move so that it doesn't have to be too pinned away or too sharp. And we're just going to keep that here. Now, as I said, we're going to put like a very, very long undercut in Emma's hair all the way through it. So the only real important rule is that my razor is parallel to the section that I've taken. And as long as I remember that, I pretty much can't go wrong with it. Because what I want to happen is to create a weight line, and a weight line that starts off higher here and ends up lower into the neck. and then I'm going to drop the next section, and we're going to create another one that's going to mirror that. So we're going to have 2 weight lines, and what this ends up with is that Emma will have lots of shorter texture inside, but lots of like soft, tenderly lengths, and it means that when it grows out, it's not going to grow, it's going to grow down and not grow out, which is what we want. So, like I was saying, I'm just going to step around this side. So all I'm going to do, leave the hairline out. I'm not even going to think about the hairline for a while to the end. Take a section, again, really trying to not be too neat and too thick because I want it to again, look like the girl that cut her own hair that I saw. But as I said, we're going to create a weight line, and the whole point of creating a weight line is to accentuate something. So I'm going to look at, right on the corner of Emma's eye, on her cheekbone, that's where my weight line is going to be. So I'm taking a section, probably 1 inch thick, and I'm going to put my razor, again, parallel to the section I've taken, and I'm going to create a weight line in there. And you see straight away that sits in. If I can spin you around again, you can see straight away that's sitting in right on that point where I want it to sit. The reason that I say keep your razor parallel to the section that you've taken, this curved section, is because what I've seen some people make the mistake, and I've made that mistake again, is I go in quite straight. But if you see, if I go in quite straight, the razor is closer to the root there than it is there. So I don't get that even consistency of weight. I end up with shorter into the back, which is what I don't want. So I can't stress enough with this haircut, don't try, you've got to resist the urge to kind of stick to your training, which is to take things very neat and do very, very well balanced and clean sections. Because as hairdressers, obviously that's what we've had drilled into us through the years. But what I found after I was in the store and I saw that girl with the really cool haircut that she'd cut herself, when I went back to the salon, I started working on some blocks and trying to recreate what I'd saw, and it didn't look like it. It looked too contrived, it looked too technique heavy, and the reason that it was is because it was technique heavy. I was using my training rather than my instinct, if you know what I mean. So this is the best technique that I've developed, as to try and make myself do as good of a haircut as that shop assistant did on herself. So you can see now, if I spin you back around and just straight on, you guys will be able to see how that's just sitting in, right on the cheekbone, and dropping lower into the neck. So I'm already kind of creating this almost like jellyfish effect is what I want. And when I'm thinking about references for this haircut, you know, you'll see when I start refining the outline, I'm looking at Keith Richards and Patti Smith, or even like something more modern like Richard Ashcroft, that really kind of short, shaggy texture going into longer, kind of sitting flatter to the face, no triangular shapes, everything's kind of quite square and quite flat to a head. So that's all I'm going to do in the inside for now. But as I'm going, I've just got an olive oil spray, because the olive oil spray is what I've found, for me, is the best product for giving that kind of really grungy, stringy texture. And you can just get it in kind of any like Afro-Caribbean hair extension shop. So as I said, I'm not even going to think about the hairline for now, because again, as I was talking about the first, I'm cutting with a bit of instinct as well as a bit of technique. So I want to create this internal shape. I want to create these 2 very long undercuts that sit in, and then I'm going to look at her, see how that affects her face, see how that affects the balance and her character, and then I'm going to go in and freehand just refine all the hairline to see where I want it to go. So we drop the next section down, and just giving a light spray with water. I don't want to wet it. I've just run the tongs through Emma's hair before we started, just to give it a slight wave so it has a little bit of movement. And I'm just giving it a very, very light spritz with water, just so as I put the razor in, it doesn't fray through the ends, it just kind of, it finishes a little bit better. So again, even though I'm not taking a section, I'm still going to keep my razor on that angle, going shorter into here and lower into the neck. You'll notice as well that I'm leaving the hairline out up to now. I don't want to commit to that until I've got the rest of the shape in. I'm just going to put it here. And I'll step around so you guys can see. So I've got my undercut through here, and I'm pulling this top section down to look at where that was sitting. razor on the angle again that I'm trying to create. Now this one, you've got to be careful because I don't want to press too deep because I still, as I was saying, I want to create like 2 undercuts. So I want the top section, I want the underneath to short to long, and I want the top section to go from short to long as well. So I'm not pressing too hard on this. And I'd rather have to go back in 2 or 3 times to get the shape I want. Just wait a little bit. And you'll notice as well, what I'm not, because I want to create a contrast between the long and the short lengths, you'll notice I'm not going all the way through the ends, I'm staying on my line, because I want to create quite an abrupt, short bit of hair in there. I don't want to create something that's kind of very, very wispy going from short to long, because it'll be too blending and the haircut won't be strong enough, it'll be too weak. So you see through here, pulling down, still staying on this angle, trying to not be too neat, trying to not be too balanced so that I don't end up with that kind of classic layered haircut. You'll see now it's starting to sit in. I'm going to just bring this around, razor still on this angle. And this bit, when I'm doing this is what I was saying at the beginning about you cutting with a bit of technique, but you're cutting with a lot of instinct. And that just comes from doing it over and over again and just being able to know how much you can press. Even like the weight of your hand. The weight that I put on might be different than someone else because they might have heavier hand or they might have a lighter hand. It kind of, you're cutting with your head, but you're just cutting with a bit of your stomach as well because you're kind of just feeling as you're going. So we can see how that shape's starting to be created now. You can see that you've got that really like faint line of weight that's sitting into the neck and taking all that bulk and that heaviness and that triangular shape away, and then just sitting in. And I pull it out of the way, just sitting in right on the cheekbone. Okay, so we're going to repeat this section on this side. I can just spin you around a little bit. So as I repeat this section, the technique on this side, just wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that we've got coming up at Trevor Sorbie. So on Sunday the 14th of October, the Salon International weekend, we're going to be live at Salon International in the theatre. We're going to in the Salon Live stages, and we have our kind of centrepiece of our art team's year really. We are launching our new collection there. And we use it every year to launch our collection. But this year we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to be launching 5 collections because Trevor's ethos has always been to kind of empower his team and let people have like the creative freedom. So, you know, you'd look at a cross-section of our art team. Our work's very different. We don't really have one aesthetic. You know, we've got my colleague May and Caroline that do some fantastic avant-garde hair. You've got some great colorists, and then obviously I'm more, say, haircut based. The only rule is that we have to do something original and something different every time that we come up with a collection. So we've empowered the team this year and give everyone the budget to go away and create their own work and create their own collections, which is, it's had a real kind of motivating effect, but also it means that we've got a really strong Salon International show, because if you're in the audience and say you're into haircutting, where you're going to have like 3 haircut collections to look at. Or if you're into colour, you're going to have a full colour collection, which we've never done before. We've given the colour team free rein to go away and just create a pure colour collection, where the cuts are almost secondary and the colours are really telling the story and telling the direction. Then we have 2 avant-garde collections. So it's going to be a strong show, and I think because we're splitting it into 5 sections, so each team and each duo that's done their own collection is going to create their own films, is going to create their own lighting, create their own music. So it's going to be 5 mini shows into one main show, and I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to. You want to leave. I always think when you're doing a show or something like that, you want to leave some you want to leave people with something that they can't get elsewhere. And I think that what you want them to leave with is the feeling that they're excited to go to work the next day, whether that's excited to go to work and do a photo shoot, or whether that's excited to go to work and do the next client in the morning. And if you give someone that feeling of like inspiration or excitement or kind of engagement in their job, it's quite a valuable thing. And I think, you know, you're asking people to pay money for a ticket. You should be doing that. You should be going out there to give them something that they've never ever seen before. And I think the collections that we've created, I've certainly never seen the techniques and the work like it. So yeah, I'm excited to do it.
Develop your confidence.
World-class educators, straight to your computer.
Wherever you are, you can watch.
Instantly.
Passion, commitment and dedication.
Fantastic way to learn.
High quality.
Information being accessible to people all over the world.
Strengthen your weaknesses, but also strengthen your strengths.
Hairdressing Live, the future of education. I'm Tom Connell.